The Straight Man and the Ear Piercer. Every country probably has one. It is the law of human distillation. Against a backdrop of middle-of-the-road, mainstream, conservative subordination to autocratic government, a nexus of liberal, bohemian, amoral divergence emerges in a town or city. Here the artists, mystics, alternative therapists, weirdos, and cock-a-snook disenfranchised become the dominant force in shaping a distinct pool of laissez-faire culture. Thus distilled into a concentration of bohemianism, the town or city then becomes an escape valve for the other 99% of the country's law-abiding citizens. They come on holiday to gawp at the flexi-sexual inhabitants, buy their art, embrace a tattoo, undergo the acupuncturist's needle, swallow a herbal remedy, eat a vegan croissant, and dream of one day kicking over the traces, leaving the rat race, and joining them. Arriving one day on such a sojourn among this world of misfits, Merton Meadows booked into an Airbnb. The owners were a gentle elderly couple called Simon and Rudolph. They made him tea and scones with homemade strawberry jam and cream, gave him directions on the quick route into the city's most outre quarter, and then left him to his own devices. He changed from his casual grey linen travel suit into denim shorts and a pale pink polo shirt, checked his 40-year-old greying temples, centre-parted hair, neat moustache, and slight paunch, before setting off. 20 minutes' stroll found him in a sea of legs in shorts, the September weather being unseasonably hot. Seeing lower limbs unused to exposure was a revelation. Each pair, as unique as a fingerprint, seemed almost affronted by it. Merton had never observed legs with such acuity before. Everything from chicken thin to elephant thick, white to black, hairy to oil polished, greyhound long to Dalmatian short. However, the overall impression, one that made him suck in his stomach, was of ever-increasing obesity. He decided, on impulse, to enter a parlour named By Coiffeur. A bone-thin girl with a dyed red bouffant and gold miniskirt sat him down. "And what can we do for you today, sir?" she asked. "You tell me," he answered, reacting to his own words with a sharp indrawn breath. "And does sir want his moustache refined or completely removed?" He found himself gasping the word removed. It seemed involuntary, but deep down it had all been planned in outline, if not in detail. He wanted to change his look. He'd had enough of being geometric, right-angled, straight. Bring on the curves and asymmetry. He wanted women to look at him, be fascinated by his difference, and hold their stare. As he paid, tipped, and caught a last mirror glimpse of his shaved temples and gelled upstanding brush, she said, "A single earring would suit." The remark hung in his thoughts as he slalomed through all the legs with their bodies balanced above them. He found himself at the door of the Piercing Palace. The window display was full of photographs of earrings and studs, decorating every part of the human anatomy, including the most intimate, which had Merton spasming in horror. But he entered. A young woman met him eye to eye. She was dressed in a black corset, skimpy black skirt, fishnet stockings, and knee-high boots, which consisted only of a series of thick straps and had 5-inch soles. She was liberally tattooed with representations of wildlife. Silver rings adorned her nose, lips, and ears. Silver bangles jingled up her forearms. "1 ear or 2, she smiled. 1. "Gold or silver? Ring or stud?" "Gold ring." "Left or right?" "Left is good for pain relief. Right stimulates the libido." "Right," he said without a pause. She stumped noisily upstairs and returned after a few seconds. "You can go right up," she said. "Mum is free." The stairs were bare wood, narrow and painted white. They led him into the piercing salon, where a voluptuous older woman in a black silk robe and Roman sandals met him. There was no visible part of her that was not tattooed. Names and faces of writers, musicians and artists, all ring-wearers, jostled for skin space. Her hair fell in black ringlets, and silver combs embellished the rising mass on top of her head. Remarkable green eyes viewed him. "Welcome," she said with a French accent. "Right ear, gold ring?" She smiled. It was a funny sort of smile, both unthreatening yet potent. He nodded. "Lie on the couch." He lay down and she cranked it up to working height. "Final question, oui?" she murmured. "Domestiqué ou sauvage?" He was nonplussed. She implied that he knew what she was asking. His indecision seemed to answer her question. "Bon, sauvage it is," she whispered, her words reverberating in his ear. There was a brief moment of pain, a throbbing tugging as the ring followed the puncturing, a mirror held to show him her handiwork, and he was done. "Right the storm," were her final words as he descended the stairs. "Ah, you chose sauvage," said the daughter, nodding as he was leaving. "Good move." Feeling light-headed, he wandered the narrow, gaudy, facaded streets. At every opportunity he found himself pausing to see his reflection. Each time his clothes seemed an affront to his growing sense of new self. Another shop later, and he was wearing only black. A singlet, knee-length baggy shorts, and tough leather ankle boots. He decided to have a beer at a pavement table. He felt great, sitting with legs splayed, an arm hanging loosely over the back of the chair, looking openly at passers-by. A couple of minutes later, a tall, shaven-headed, tanned woman in a bare-armed, bare-legged, black lycra one-piece and heavy red boots, carrying a large hold-all, stopped nearby. She touched her ear. His new earrings started tingling. Energy coursed through his body. He stood up. She turned towards him, smiled, and held his gaze for several seconds. "Glad you could join us," she said, taking his hand and guiding him into the bustling street. That was The Straight Man and the Ear Piercer. The story is based on recent events. I was in a city called Brighton in the United Kingdom which is an alternative haven for therapies, body-changing procedures, lifestyles, you name it. Anyway, I did decide to have an ear pierced at the age of 80. Thus came about the story. A double whammy. If you like stories which involve sudden change in character, personality, then there are many more on this channel. Please search them out. In the meantime, if you like to read as well as listen, you can go to my website, which is www.jacksanger.com, and there you'll find novels, short stories, plays, poetry, and even some Zen non-fiction. Please subscribe to this channel and share the link if you can with friends. Thank you for listening. I'll be back soon. Go in peace. Bye-bye.